Welcome back. If vouchers can provide parents with a powerful tool for school choice, I want you to know why the former head of the New York City public school system thinks they're such a bad idea. You ran a school system. You had dollars allocated per child. Mm-hmm. Why can't that parent, if X number of dollars is allocated, what was the number when you were superintendent allocated per child? 10,500. Why can't there be a system if that parent says, I would like to send my child over here, I want to be able to get, versus you getting the 10,005, I want to be able to get that voucher and then put my kid in this parochial school or whatever school?
So let me try to answer it this way. The rules of engagement post 1954, the rules of engagement for black people were rules that essentially said, y'all can now go to another school, theoretically a better school, because the law now allows it. And we then trudged off and went to these schools as best we could. We got the best of education we possibly could. Our parents made choices based upon that. And the rules of engagement allowed for that to happen under the Supreme Court. The rules of engagement now are rules that essentially say, I want to take my money and go to another school, and I want to be able to take my quote unquote voucher and spend it there. And he's right. This happens already in special education and so forth. That rule of engagement was made so as to, I believe, eviscerate, in the case of New York City, public education in the city of New York. That was not a rule that was intended to empower people in Brooklyn, which is where they wanted to try this. That rule was, listen, I don't want to spend any more money on the public education system. It is a de facto ruined system. Let it go die. So the strategy for strangulation was a strategy that said, well, let me just allow privatization and the market and the forces of the market to allow people to go take their money and go any place they want to go. Now, here's the outcome of that. So for parents, I live in Brooklyn now. So for parents who are in Crown Heights and they want to take their money and go to Staten Island, those of you who know New York, you tell me at what point, how many black and brown children are going to be able to go from Crown Heights in Brooklyn, New York to Staten Island before Staten Island borough president says to the mayor, too many of y'all coming in here.
Come on, brother. But it's a hypothetical.
No.
But there's a genuine hypothetical here, as opposed to what it is. If you agree that it already is occurring to the benefit of special education children, then how can you then turn around and say that? But if we did it for traditional education children, then it would be for the evisceration.
I'm not even suggesting that you don't. No. You didn't hear me right. You didn't hear me right. Okay. I'm not saying that you don't do it. I'm saying that the predication, the basis for trying to do it initially, when vouchers first got launched, it was a way of saying...
But that never happened, though. I mean, I know you were in the meeting, but it never occurred. This is why we keep talking about the boogeyman, but it never occurred.
Well, but I'm just telling you what the ethos was.
I can tell you what occurred. Rudy, go ahead. I'm going to Cristobal. Go ahead.
The notion was, I do not want to equalize the playing field because I don't believe that the 95% are ever going to do anything different. The system is eternally broken, and so I'm just going to leave that alone and let it decay.
But it never happened.
Well, it happened in 1963, and I'll tell you all about it.
It wasn't
I can tell you when it happened in Mississippi. I can tell you, it did happen.
That's where the vouchers came from.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Look, thank you very much. The voucher school system, as we see it now, was actually perfected in 1964 in Mississippi. As a matter of fact, right after the Civil Rights Act of '64 was passed, and we had to integrate the great central high schools, what they did was provide school vouchers to all the students. Entrepreneurs built the academies on the other side of town that did have to adhere to the civil rights protections. They took those school vouchers, gutting the public education funding system for the white kids to go to the academies. They lost everything they fought for in the Central High School.
And did the very same thing in Virginia.
Thank you.
Shut down the entire state of Virginia.
But here's my question.
The state of Virginia was never shut down. So come on.
The school system was.
Hold up,
so
but
we
one
can tell you all
second.
about it. You need to study it a
But
little
one
bit.
second, hold up.
But
I recall an educator, an entrepreneur in Chicago,
Right?
who created her own school. One of the most dynamic schools, and we talk about her and laud her. Her name was Marva Collins.
Know her very well.
So you're talking about 1964, but
Right.
you've got black entrepreneurs now.
that
who-
you're standing in the way of.
Hold up.
No, she did it right.
Hold up, but you got black entrepreneurs now who are literally saying, wait a minute, if I could build my own school and maximize the vouchers and teach my own kids, y'all did it, I can do it too. I'm still asking the question, what is the problem, Cristobal? Because here's where I'm confused.
You didn't cut
If
corners.
I'm serving, because here's a piece, if I'm serving 100,000 students and 30,000 leave with vouchers, that means I'm now serving 70,000. It's not that my system gets shut down, it's just that I now have the budget for 70,000 versus 100,000. That was the same thing I heard about charter schools. The complaint about in DC, what I heard was, oh, if you do this here, system's gonna shut down because the money's gonna leave. It's still here. They're simply serving a smaller clientele. Go ahead with your comment.
I've actually been a president of a charter school at one point, of the governing board, and what I saw was great school. We outperformed the district, wonderful. We were 5% of the state that performed above the public school option, the public school district. The issue was our infrastructure, our leadership issues were there. The system in the state wasn't set up to support those kinds of systems. So the struggle for charter schools is with the entire state system as well as with the public school system. They're fighting a whole different set of battles. Ultimately, the inequities, when we're talking about the inequities playing out in both charter or public school, we have to beg the question, are we putting our efforts together to achieve fair outcomes? As long as we're not begging the question of fair outcomes and we're just looking at inputs, we're not getting there. Our fight, I love the beautiful crowd here. It's not with each other. It's with the system we're fighting up against the state, either the federal government, that we're not talking about the issues that improve equity in order for black and brown children to be served to achieve fair outcomes.
Kickstart your day at 7 and get the news you need from the perspective you want. NewsOne Now with Roland Martin. Every weekday morning at 7 on TV1.